শুভ সন্ধ্যা সবাইকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি আজকের আলাপচারিতায়। আমরা আশা করতে পারি যে 19শে জুলাই ব্রিটেন ধীরে ধীরে আমরা এমন অবস্থানের দিকে যাব যেখানে আমরা আবারও আমাদের নর্মাল লাইফের দিকে ফিরে যেতে পারবো, সেরকমই আশ্বাস দিয়েছেন আজকে আমাদের প্রধানমন্ত্রী বরিস জনসন। এই পুরো সময়টা জুড়ে, এই প্যান্ডেমিক বা এই মহামারীর সময় জুড়ে আমরা আমাদের প্রিয়জনকে হারিয়েছি, আমাদের জীবনের সাধারণ জীবন যাপনের অধিকার হারিয়েছি, এবং এর পরেও এত মানসিক এত অর্থনৈতিক চাপের পরেও আমরা যে ধীরে ধীরে সাধারণ জীবনযাপনের দিকে ফিরে যেতে পারছি সেটা অবশ্যই একটা আশার কথা। কিন্তু এই সময়টাতে আমরা যেটা উপলব্ধি করতে পেরেছি যে আমরা মানুষের মনুষ্যত্ব যে কতটা শক্তিশালী হতে পারে এই মহামারীতে মানুষকে বেঁচে থাকার জন্যে, মানুষের জীবনের যাপিত জীবনের উপলব্ধিগুলো আবারও তাদেরকে মানুষ হিসেবে দাঁড় করাবার জন্যে, সেই উপলব্ধিগুলো কিন্তু আমাদের একটা বড় পাওয়া। এবং সেই উপলব্ধির সূত্র ধরেই আমরা কোভিড হিরোজদেরকে দেখেছি, যারা নিজেদের জীবন বাজি রেখে কাজ করেছেন, যারা কমিউনিটির পাশে দাঁড়িয়েছেন, যারা ক্ষুধার্ত NHS কর্মীদের মুখে খাবার তুলে দিয়েছেন, যারা বাড়ি বাড়ি গিয়ে অসহায় মানুষের কাছে খাবার পৌঁছে দিয়েছেন, ওষুধ সামগ্রী পৌঁছে দিয়েছেন, ইত্যাদি বিভিন্ন কাজে তারা বেরিয়ে এসছেন নিজেদের জীবনকে বাজি রেখে। পাশাপাশি তারা তাদের মনুষ্যত্বকে দাঁড় করিয়ে দিয়েছেন তাদের নিজেদের জীবনের আগে। সেই সমস্ত কোভিড হিরোদের আমরা শ্রদ্ধা ভরে স্মরণ করি। আমরা গর্বিত যে তেমনি একজন কোভিড হিরোকে আজকে আমরা আমাদের স্টুডিওতে পেয়েছি, এবং এই তরুণ অবশ্যই ব্রিটিশ বাংলাদেশি তরুণ প্রজন্মের জন্যে আমাদের গর্বের একটি স্থান তৈরি করে দিয়েছে। আমাদের সঙ্গে আজকে স্টুডিওতে আছেন জিল্লুর হুসেইন, পিটারবারার একজন তরুণ বাংলাদেশি ব্রিটিশ, যিনি MB পদকে ভূষিত হয়েছেন তার জনহিতকর বা চ্যারিটি কাজের জন্যে। জিল্লুর হুসেইন, আপনাকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আমাদের সঙ্গে যুক্ত হওয়ার জন্য, এবং আপনাকে আমাদের আন্তরিক কৃতজ্ঞতা, শ্রদ্ধা এবং ভালোবাসা।
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. And to my right, we also have again a friend of Bangladeshi community in Peterborough, MP Paul Bristow. Paul, thank you very much for joining us, and I believe we will be talking about how you have been working closely with Mr. Hussain, and how you have seen his work and how your vision in relation to Peterborough, which is one city, one community, has been coming along, especially during this COVID time. So welcome to my show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. So we will start with Zillur Hussain, and in between we will talk to Mr. Bristow about his vision in Peterborough and how Peterborough could be a role model for community cohesion, how Peterborough can also be a role model in terms of having a right vision for United Kingdom to go forward and actually addressing the challenges that we will be facing after coming out of the lockdown. And দর্শক, আপনারাও আমাদের সঙ্গে যোগ দিতে পারবেন। আজকের এই অজানা এই হিরোর গল্প আমরা শুনবো, তার কাছ থেকে জানতে চাইব একজন সাধারণ তরুণ থেকে অসাধারণ একজন চ্যারিটি অর্গানাইজার এবং পিটারবারার একজন কি বলবো, সে কোভিড হিরো ফর পিটারবারা হয়ে ওঠার গল্প। So before we get to know more about Zillur Hussain, we will watch a short clip of Zillur Hussain, and then we'll come and talk to Zillur. Let's watch a small video clips. So Zillur Bhai, we were watching only few clips of your work. I'm sure there is lots more to do, lots more to see. In terms of, I would like to know what has been your reaction and your family's reaction of you getting the MB, which is obviously a big achievement.
Obviously, when we got the news, I think the first person I emailed to forward the email to the Paul, and I say, Paul, can you look at it? What is it? And he said, oh, congratulations, you got it.
You couldn't even believe it.
No, I just seen it, right? I wasn't expecting something like that, and I didn't work for it. So I sent it to the Paul. Paul said, oh, congratulations, you got it. So and then I shared to my families, and they're obviously my children are very happy. Absolutely. They were so excited, and it is pleased, right? I got this honored and recognized what I did. Absolutely,
as you said, that you didn't work to get an award. You worked because you wanted to. You worked because you felt that that is your responsibility, not only to the Bangladeshi community in Peterborough, but the community as a whole. So obviously, you are a light barrier for the vision that Mr. Bristow is talking about, one community, one city. But how did you start? When did you start about doing this charity work? Because we saw pictures you distributing food and saris in Bangladesh as well. So your charity work is not only limited to Peterborough, which is also back home in Dirai, which is your village. Yeah.
I mean, we started like 7 years ago, this Zai Foundation. And 7 years ago, we helped build a few schools in back home. When the earthquake happened in Nepal, a friend of mine, his village doesn't have any schools, completely demolished. So I built a school there as well. This is the first time we got the opportunity to do something in where I come from, my local city, Peterborough, which is a great city, great people living there. And when the COVID started, I think the first day, my father wasn't very well, so he's hospitalized in Bangladesh. And there's no flight. We can go and see my parents. And we all family members was very upset. I remember that my brother Kamrul, he was crying because we cannot fly. And then we decided, okay, let's do something for Peterborough. And then we got the list of I called the council, I called a few of my friends, send me the list of the people who are over 75 years old. Then I have a couple of hundred start with. And then we delivered the food before this lockdown start, day before. And then I call Paul, can we do something together? And obviously, we're very lucky. Our energetic MP come out, and then we called the newspaper, and we put the ad on the newspaper, and we got 1,000 and 1,000 emails, messages came, and we started from there delivering the food.
So roughly, how many food parcels you have given throughout this time?
I mean, from my restaurants and the business Z groups, I think we've done about 22,000 parcels gone out from our, plus whole Peterborough. Paul will be tell, because as I said, I do my side. Paul start going to every single restaurant, every single businesses, bring them out to the community, to the parcel. And this is, he will tell you better than me.
Obviously, let's move to Paul. Paul, obviously, you're a politician, but at the same time, I'm sure we would be able to tell you that you're also a COVID hero. During this COVID time, how did you manage to bring the whole community together?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to say I was a COVID hero. Zilla and his example really led many other people to become COVID heroes in Peterborough. Look, this is the best job I'm ever going to have. Peterborough's my city. It's the city I grew up in. It's my home. And when you see people struggling, when you see people who don't have a happy home, who need that sort of support, to bring everyone together like we did, following Zilla's example, was just wonderful to see. I always say about Peterborough, we come in from many different cultures, many different backgrounds, many different religions. We even speak different languages. But when it matters, we came together as one city. And Zilla really was a prime example of that. And he makes me proud of Peterborough.
So Zillur's example inspired other businessmen to come forward from all sectors.
That's right, because obviously people see when someone's been kind, someone's doing something, and when that's promoted, other people are also rallying to the cause as well. And it got to the point where we were looking after all of our rough sleepers, we were looking after those people who were shielding, those people who were vulnerable, those people who weren't able to go to the shops and get food, you know, very easily. And we just ensured, I think, that those who were struggling supported the council's efforts as well. We just ensured by coming together as one city, all the takeaways, restaurants, businesses, catering companies, all came together and made sure that we pulled together as one city. And it was just so impressive to see.
It's দর্শক আমরা আমাদের Hussain bhai বা Zillur bhai, obviously he's a businessman in terms of he has got restaurants, he has got hotels, he's into construction business as well. He could have easily kept all his wealth to himself, especially people become more selfish during this kind of very stressful time, not knowing what the future holds for them. Instead, what we have seen Zillur bhai doing is that he actually opened his arms, which had inspired other young businessmen or other businessmen to come forward and made the whole Peterborough city proud of our Hussain bhai. So we are really pleased. Hussain bhai, so in terms of this kind of charity work, you said that Zai Foundation started 7 years ago, but I'm sure your charity work didn't start 7 years ago. So who has been your inspiration to get into this mode of doing things for other people?
I mean, when I was young and when I used to be living in the village in Nugdipur, very remote village, and I seen my grandmother or my mother and my father, they used to be, you know, do a lot of charities, donations and, you know, feeding peoples and all sort of things we've seen years and years. And since I come back, I always want to do something for where I come from. So I built a lot of houses, anybody's weddings or whatever happens, the people calling me directly. And I do
from
Bangladesh,
Dirai,
yeah,
okay.
Dirai. And I do as much I can to help them. As I said to you recently, I just built a school in my mother's name. We go another madrasa we built. We're trying to do, we bought a land for the building of hospitals. Inshallah, we'll be building biggest hospitals that our area we're going to build. So there's a lot of other projects we are doing. So I learned from my mom or my grandmothers. And when Bengali saying is, you know, when you gave something, you know, it's never going to finish.
Charity begins at
Charity
home,
begins, yeah.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
this is I learned, and I believe on this, right? You know, as much you gave, God will give you more. And I believe on this word, and I'm working for years and years. And mashallah, I'm here today.
And I understand that we will have Mr. Oli Khan joining us from Bangladesh Catering Association. He will be joining us and talking about Zillur bhai and his blessings as well. Oli Khan is also an MBA holder, and he has been doing lots of charity work as well within the restaurant sector. So we will be pleased to have Oli bhai with us soon. I believe he will be joining us via Zoom soon. So coming to you, Mr. Bristow, in terms of, you said that Peterborough being a unique city. So how did that happen? How did Peterborough become so much kind of the strength that you have developed or your city has developed in terms of community cohesion? How is it that they become one community?
Well, the thing is, Peterborough's always attracted people from outside to come to the city. The city has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. The cathedral is 900 years old, but it's really grown in recent years, and it's attracted people from all across the world to come to Peterborough. And the ethos, I think, brought us through this change, and it has meant change for the city, is, as I say, it doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, we all live together as one city. And sometimes I think people perhaps harker to the past, they look backwards, whereas I look positively and I look forwards. And I think because Peterborough's changed so much, because we have so many people from across the world wanting to make this community their home, my job as the MP is to try and bring those people together. And this COVID crisis, as difficult as it was, many people died before their time. But what we've shown is a real community spirit in our city, and we need to keep that going forward beyond this pandemic and show, I guess, the rest of the world what we're made of.
So in terms of, as you said, that during this pandemic where people needed more support and majority of the local communities or local councils had limited support, and because this just came as a shock,
Yes.
so people were, or the communities or the councils were not ready for it. So how do you see the support from the community itself, like Zillur has brought that support, Zillur has brought Bangladeshi community work alongside the council. How did that happen, and what has been the impact of that?
Well, the best will in the world. The local council or the government can only ever do so much. It doesn't matter if there was unlimited money. And we've ploughed, as a government, so much money into supporting the economy, into supporting jobs and supporting people. But that will only go so far. The people who are struggling on the ground, the people embedded within the community, are always going to be volunteers, are always going to be the community themselves. And in Peterborough, they came together, I think, like no other city, led by people like Zilla, from every community, the Pakistani community, the Indian community, the Chinese community, the Eastern European community. Everybody came together to not just look after their own, but to look after one another. And that's very special.
So, Zillur Bhai, in terms of, as Paul was saying, that through your work, you have contributed significantly to bring the community together, not only Bangladeshi community, but other people from other communities were also inspired. How easy or how difficult was this task, especially during the pandemic, where, as I was saying, that people were kind of, it's very easy, or people would be tempted to think, okay, I don't know what's out there for me, I don't know, this very uncertain period, I will look after myself, rather than me going out and actually share my wealth, share my time, share my life, putting your life at risk with other people.
Yeah, as I say, the first thing, so when I look at it, right, obvious that when we doesn't know exactly when the COVID start, exactly what is it 100% and how far it's going to go. So this is, I think, so as a local citizens of Peterborough or UK, I think this is our duty to do something for our elderlies or neighbours.
You're no longer only belonging to Peterborough. You're a COVID hero, so you
I understand
to Bangladeshi community across the United Kingdom.
Yeah, so I think it's our duty to do something. Obvious difficulties, we look at the business difficulty, business was closed down. Yeah, there's a financial struggles and everything, but whatever. I start from small, so I'm going to do little bit there. And as much I go, I found I'm enjoying more, so I want to do more. And then I find it, I talk to the chef, I talk to my builders, construction side, everybody said, we're going to deliver. So you see a lot of people, they come together to help to do this.
You are actually losing your own business, because obviously restaurants were shut, there was no, not that much of construction work, so you're losing money in terms of your own business. You are still thinking about how to help others. How did that came? Where did that come from?
When I watch the TVs and the news and everything, and I see how many people is dying. So that only things I feel right, I can be next. So what is the point? I have all this money, when all the wealth I have, and I can help the community, or I can help.
So you are not
I
scared?
can't take anything with me.
You are not scared?
No, I wasn't scared. Every single days, and most of the deliveries, I did it for myself. I just want to see, I stay far, but I put the boxes and I talk to these a lot of old people, just want to see, because I'm missing my father so much. So I want to talk to them, and I feel really good when I talk to these people. And there's many people who are crying on the door, they can't go out because they doesn't go food in home. And I get calls come from different towns, Manchester, Birmingham, their parents living in this, they doesn't go sanitary, they doesn't have any tissues, they need some sort of juices, water. And when I go to the boxes and I see these people standing on the door, I do feel really good, special. And I think this is the thing. So money, I always believe as a God in my luck. Whatever is mine is going to come from somewhere. So
okay,
that's
so
exactly
now
I did.
tell us the secret about success in your business. At this age, you're a successful businessman in terms of your restaurants, in terms of your construction company, in terms of your hotel business. So what has been the secret of your business success? If you could share it with our audience. Because I'm sure people would like to know, how did you manage to become to this level?
The first things I always say, right, there is somebody who pray for me every day. I must be done something good, or somebody very special who pray for me every day to be healthy and do whatever I'm doing every day. Wake up in the morning. Obviously, I do put a lot of hours on my businesses, and my family is always very supported. I've been up and down on my business many times, but all my brothers, sisters, they stand behind me to support me.
So you have a very supportive family.
Very, very supportive family. And my wife, obvious, she always there. I go out morning, come back in the middle of the night sometime. All days I didn't see my kids. I didn't even see how my kids grow.
So you have a very good manager at home.
I have good managers in home.
That's
and she's doing very well.
That's also a good secret.
Yeah, that's the one of the thing.
You know Zillur for a long, long time. So how would you, what's your observation in terms of his secret for his success in terms of, as a businessman?
Well, Zillur is a very kind, generous and good man. But I think Zillur understands that life's not a practice. You've only got one life, and you might as well go at things 100%. And he works incredibly hard. He's very, very dedicated to whatever he focuses his mind on. As I said, life's not a practice, and he'll focus on one goal and he'll go for it 100%. And sometimes in politics it's the same. I always say to people when you make a decision, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always certain, and always focused on what the goal is. And I think Zillur exemplifies that in his business career.
I think that's, I mean, I know you're being too modest and kind of not sharing the leadership. I'm sure there's a strong leadership skills within yourself in terms of how you've been running all this business, how you've been bringing people along.
Yeah, I mean, what I do right, every single businesses I have a manager. So I choose very carefully my management team. So we have this CEO for our companies, then we have a management supervisors. So these people basically running different businesses.
But they work under your leadership?
Definitely they work under my leadership. But they come with ideas. I mean, this charities ideas, as example, when it's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to distribute the food. But a lot of people in our community...
Okay, Zillur bhai will come back, but that's after a short break. Darshok, আমরা ছোট্ট বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির উপর ফিরে আসছি। কোভিড হিরোর সঙ্গেই থাকবেন। আশা করি ছোট্ট বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আবার আপনাদের সঙ্গে দেখা হচ্ছে। বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আমরা ফিরে এসেছি আজকের আলাপচারিতায়। আমরা কথা বলছি আমাদের কোভিড হিরো জিল্লুর হোসেনের সঙ্গে। আমার সূচনা বক্তব্যে যেটা বলছিলাম যে এই পুরো মহামারীর এই পুরো সময়টাতে এই তাণ্ডবে আমরা হারিয়েছি আমাদের প্রিয়জনকে, কিন্তু পাশাপাশি আমরা বুঝতে পেরেছি যে আমাদের মনুষ্যত্ব, আমাদের হিউম্যানিটি কতটা শক্তিশালী, এবং এই দুর্যোগেও মনুষ্যত্ব এবং হিউম্যানিটি আমাদের, কিংবা আমাদের চ্যারিটি ওয়ার্ক, আমাদের দাতব্য ওয়ার্ক, এবং আমাদের নতুন প্রজন্ম যারা আমাদের জন্য একটা গর্বের অবস্থান তৈরি করেছে, সেই বিষয়গুলো আমাদেরকে এই দুর্যোগের সময়ও শক্তি জুগিয়েছে, সাহস জুগিয়েছে, এবং সেজন্য এই কোভিড হিরোদের কাছে আমরা আন্তরিকভাবে কৃতজ্ঞ। আমাদের ভালোবাসা, শ্রদ্ধা, সবকিছু। আমাদের সঙ্গে সেই কোভিড হিরো রয়েছেন জিল্লুর হোসেন। আমরা তার সঙ্গে আমাদের প্রথম পর্বে কথা বলছিলাম তার সাফল্যের পেছনে কোন গুণগুলো বা কোন কাজগুলো কাজ করেছে, এবং আমাদের সঙ্গে তার বন্ধু হিসেবে, তার শুভাকাঙ্ক্ষী হিসেবে পিটারবারা এমপি জয়েন করেছেন পল ব্রিস্টো. He has been with us for the first segment, and obviously he is with us still. And this segment, Paul, before we go to Zillur, if you could tell us, because you highlighted the strength of Peterborough, that is one community, one city. So what has been this vision, and how this vision has actually helped the people of Peterborough during this pandemic?
Well, I think in too many places in the UK, where you have people, different communities coming together and living in one place, quite often you've seen those communities siloed, living on their own in one place, and basically not mixing with other communities, and obviously with the white English population as well. Peterborough's never been like that. I think Peterborough has over 100 languages spoken in our city, many different communities. And look, what can I do as the MP representing a place like that? When the COVID pandemic broke out, I wanted to make sure that the world could see that Peterborough is a unique place where we all look after one another, despite coming from different communities. So when Zilla launched his charitable efforts to look after other people, it was others from different communities who then came through me and through Zilla to try and work as well. And the message for me, what that showed, is that we come from many different communities, speak different languages, different faiths, but when it mattered, when the city was struggling, when individuals and families and communities were struggling, we all came together as one city. And I want Peterborough to be a beacon, an example to the rest of the UK, that it doesn't matter what community you're from, what religious background you're from, when it matters, we all come together as one community and one city.
Obviously, through Brexit, because whilst we're doing all this, going through the pandemic, we were also dealing with the Brexit issue. So Brexit has also given us, unfortunately, that division where people from different communities, people from different religious backgrounds were kind of made to feel isolated, made to feel that they were not part of the bigger picture, they were not part of the bigger community. So how do you want this vision of yours, that one community, one city, to be replicated? You said that, you want Peterborough to be the beacon council or beacon city where people can actually learn from it. So how, what exactly is your, how do you want to see your vision to be replicated elsewhere?
Well, Brexit's a very good example. I was a Brexiteer. I voted for Brexit simply because I wanted Britain to be global again. I wanted us to look across the seas, look across the world, and really try and use our influence as a global country to make a difference across the world and bring in the best and the brightest from across the world to come to our country. Sadly, that's not happening during the pandemic, but we already have a cross-section of the best and the brightest in the country living in Peterborough. And it doesn't matter whether you're from the Bangladeshi community, it doesn't matter whether you're from the Pakistani community, it doesn't matter whether you're from the Latvian community or from the white English community. A desire for Britain to look globally and outwards, beyond Europe, but across the world, is a real positive vision. To be able to be responsible for setting your own laws and controlling what goes on in your own country, I think is a vision that doesn't matter where you're from, what background you're from, should unite us all. The decision was made. Let's go forward as a global country and as one city and try and bring the best and the brightest from the world to Peterborough.
Let's check whether we have got Councillor Ishak with us. Okay, he hasn't joined us, so we're hoping that he would be joining us soon. Zillur Bhai, in terms of community cohesion, we often talk about community cohesion and all the communities coming together, but we have seen, unfortunately, in number of cities, number of areas, especially within Bangladeshi community, we have seen some kind of apprehension of not becoming part of the bigger picture. Unfortunately, sometimes we want to keep ourselves to ourselves. How did you manage to bring that kind of overcome that barrier? But before I come to you, I'm sure there's a caller. I have a question or a comment about you. Caller ke royechen line. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum. I have two questions. First of all, I would like to thank Zillur Bhai for his achievement becoming an MBA. I think he's done a great job. I mean, while the pandemic was on, people were afraid to go out of their house. And he was going out there distributing thousands of food. And I think he's done a good job, and it's really deserved the MBA. I have two questions. I have one question for Paul. I just had a look. In 2019, the homelessness in Peterborough was 2,300. And in 2021, it came to 1,600. I would like to ask him what he's doing from his side to decrease more the homelessness. And I have another question, another one for Mr. Zillur Bhai. There was an article in Peterborough Matters in 2011 after the pandemic, so 2021 after the pandemic. There was really big increase of free school meals for underprivileged children in Peterborough. Can Zai Foundation play a part on that to provide free school meals for the children of Peterborough? Thank you.
Okay, so let's hear from Mr. Bristow first in terms of addressing the housing issues.
Yeah, so there's a difference between those people who are homeless, either living in temporary accommodation or regrettably in hotels, and those who are rough sleeping. I think the biggest challenge during COVID was to make sure that those people who were rough sleepers in Peterborough were housed in appropriate accommodation. There's a wonderful charity in Peterborough called the Garden House who work with rough sleepers in the city. And of course they provide accommodation. And the council also stepped up and provided hotel accommodation. But the number of rough sleepers, thankfully in Peterborough, is much lower than the around 2,000 figure that was quoted. It's very, very much lower, only a fraction of that. The 2,000 or so that are quoted, those are families who are waiting for a permanent accommodation, either be it in the private rented or the council sector. But it's a big issue because Peterborough is a growing city. We need more homes and more houses. And hopefully the local authority will continue to build those homes and we can get those people permanent accommodation.
Thank you. So Zillur Bhai, the question to you was about Zai Foundation working possibly with the council to address this school meal issue.
Yeah, I mean, Zai Foundation is very, very closely work with schools and children. Obviously, we do more in Bangladesh and we've done other countries. We've done some in Bulgaria. A lot of helps we done to the schools in Bulgaria. Definitely when these situations happened on the schools meals issues in the council last year, we did offer a lot of meals to the few schools. And yeah, definitely in the future, if anything's like we need to do, Zai Foundation will be there to help for any kind of meals need in Peterborough. Zai Foundation will work with a local school with them.
I'm sure you will have something in place because obviously wherever you are seeing as a challenge, you are kind of
No, that's the one of the
giving your hands out. Yeah.
We love children and we want to do something for children and
Absolutely.
give them a better life.
Zillur Bhai, we'll come to you, but I believe we have got Councillor Ishfaq Hussain is with us. Good afternoon, good evening, Councillor Ishfaq, and welcome to ATN Bangla. I'm sure you will have lots of positive things to say about Zillur Hussain MB. So briefly, how do you see his achievement?
It's a massive achievement and it's an honour for us to be associated with him. He's worked very hard over the last year especially at the start of the pandemic. We all worked closely together. And credit goes to obviously our MP Paul Bristow and Zilla MBE who worked tirelessly, and it was an honour to work with both of them, to be honest with you.
I think we have lost Councillor Ishfaq. I hope he is able to come back. Okay, we'll come back to him. Zilur Bhai, so in terms of my question to you was, there's a caller waiting for us, so let me take the call and then we'll come back to you. Caller, assalamu alaikum. Who is on the line?
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
আমি বাংলায় বলতে চাচ্ছি,
নিশ্চয়ই, জি।
সরি টু সে, যেহেতু বাংলা চ্যানেল, ওনাদেরকে বুঝিয়ে দিলেন। 2019 যে কোভিড-19 যে সংগ্রামটা হচ্ছে, 2021 এখন আমাদের অনেক ক্রাইসিস, অনেকের চাকরি নাই, অনেকের বিজনেস প্রবলেম, অনেকের হাউজিং প্রবলেম, বিল ভাতা প্রবলেম, অনেক কিছু দাম বেড়ে গেছে। এগুলোর উদ্দেশ্যে ওনারা আমাদের কি উদ্যোগ নিচ্ছেন? আর আমার একটা অনুরোধ, অনেকের জবলেস, তাদেরকে উপকৃত করার জন্য, অনেকে হোমলেস, তাদেরকে উপকৃত করার জন্য, অনেক ইমিগ্রেশন প্রবলেম, উপকৃত করে, শুধু সব লাইনের মানুষ জানলে হবে না, সবাইকে আমাদের সাহায্য করতে হবে। আমার একটা অনুরোধ, কোভিড-19 অনেক লোকের জব চলে গেছে, অনেক লোকের পরিচিত মানুষ মারা গেছে। আমরা যে ইংল্যান্ডে এত বছর থাকতেছি, 27 বছর, নিয়ারলি 30 বছর, আমাদের কিভাবে আমরা চলবো, এটা নিয়ে আপনি একটু আলাপ করেন, তাহলে আমি খুব উপকৃত হব।
নিশ্চয়, থ্যাংক ইউ caller. Obviously the caller's question was, Mr. Bristow, is in relation to how do we support people across United Kingdom who have been experiencing either unemployment or housing issues or health issues, at the same time some mental health issues. So coming out of pandemic, we should be keeping an eye on all these people, all this big cohort of people, and how do we support these people across the United Kingdom to come out. So but I'll come back to you. Let us just finish with hearing from Councillor Ishfaq. Welcome back again, Councillor. So
Sorry,
you were
yes.
telling us about how proud you are about Mr. Hussein's achievement.
Yes, as I said, we were all working closely together as a group, and it was, obviously his backing and support that allowed us to help and support the vulnerable families and the shielding families during this time. But it wasn't just the school meals, it was, providing food parcels to vulnerable and shielding families and to people that weren't able to go out, elderly people that weren't able to cook. We were providing warm meals for them. It started off, as I was saying, there was 35 homeless people that the council in Peterborough was supporting.
We're sorry that we keep on losing Councillor Ishfaq. So coming back to you, Zilur Bhai, that how do you manage to overcome this barrier of bringing this community cohesion that as I was saying, that Bangladeshi community in the past we have seen that we want to keep ourselves to ourselves?
No, I know this our communities always, but there is a people who always go out and do the businesses and to more open, and I think this is I learned from them. Is our old generation, they open the businesses, they go out, they see the people, and as a great example, our boys are now educated. We are in the mainstream. A lot of our MPs we have, a lot of councillors, mayors. So our community, I think, is moved a lot further than. It's not small anymore.
Absolutely, and this is that the move is in the right direction.
It is in the right direction, and there are our inspirations. That's why we learn and we see. We are not a small community anymore. We are a big, massive community, and we're doing, alhamdulillah, very well.
And we must work with the mainstream community, with the indigenous community, and see ourselves as part of the bigger picture, rather than just looking after ourselves and looking after our own interest. I believe there's a caller waiting. Caller, assalamu alaikum. Ke rochen line?
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
জি, আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি, বলুন।
জি,
দর্শক, আপনাকে টেলিভিশনের শব্দটি কমাতে হবে, আপনাকে টেলিফোনের মাধ্যমে আমাদের সঙ্গে কথা বলতে হবে। জি, we can hear you.
হ্যালো,
জি শুনতে পাচ্ছি, বলুন।
হ্যাঁ আমি ক্রলি থেকে এম এ কাইম জিল্লু হুসেনের মামা।
ওয়েলকাম টু দ্য শো। জি বলুন।
Urmee Mazher, thank you very much for nice program to present, and also thanks to the MP Paul. And I would like to give massive congratulations my Bagna Jillu Hussain on his brilliant achievement. May Allah bless him, and inshallah bless his family as well. I'm very proud to him. And the other thing I have to mention about him, about 10 years back, আমরা একটা অর্গানাইজেশন আছে বিরাই ডেভেলপমেন্ট অর্গানাইজেশন, কিছু লং টার্ম 1995 স্টাবলিশ করছি। এই সময় সিডরের সময় আমরা একটা ফ্যামিলি গ্যাদারিং করবার লাগে যখন আলোচনা করছিলাম, তখন বাগনা বললো, মামা আমি এই প্রোগ্রামটা সম্পূর্ণ স্পন্সর করবো যদি আপনারা পিঠাবা আসেন। তখনকার সময় আমাদের চেয়ারম্যান মোনাফ সাহেব এন্ড খালেদ সাহেব সেক্রেটারি ছিল, ওরা আমরা সবাই উনি একটা প্রেজেন্ট করছে হোল প্রোগ্রামটা এত সুন্দরভাবে একটা পোস্টার হোটেলের মধ্যে আমাদেরকে প্রোগ্রামটা প্রেজেন্ট করছে। হিমসেলফ একটা বিগ একটা স্পন্সর, অনেক পয়সা খরচ করে আমরা একটা প্রোগ্রাম দিতে নেব 200-300 পিপুলের। আর অকেশন ফিউ ডেজ ব্যাক আমরা গ্রেটার নামগঞ্জ এক্সিবিশনের প্রায় 250 মানুষের একটা ইফতার পার্টি প্রেজেন্ট হতো। And really, Bagna really is a big heart.
Absolutely, Mama. Thank you. I'm sure. Not only you are proud of your nephew, we are also proud of Mr. Zillur Hussain, because he is a COVID hero, and I'm sure he's a role model for our Bangladeshi community, upcoming businessmen who are doing great in the business, but maybe not so much great in terms of their community responsibility. So I'm sure Zillur will be seen as a role model. We keep on losing Councillor Ishfaq, but he's back. So literally, let me finish what you are saying. Councillor, what I would like to also ask you, literally, very briefly to respond, is how important do you think this work that Zillur Bhai has been doing in terms of bringing the whole community together, and him being then now becoming a role model for our upcoming businessmen in Bangladeshi community?
I think it's very important. What people don't realize.
You have to unmute. Councillor, you have to unmute your microphone. Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, yes. So the easiest way to tell you is it was very important, and the reason it was important is not only, as a businessman, but also as a community person, as a leader, but also because people from very, many different backgrounds were affected by COVID, regardless of color, creed, religion. As Muslims, sometimes we're on the back foot. We get bad press sometimes, and this was to show people, look, at the end of the day, regardless of what religion you are, what color or creed you are, we are all in this together. And it just showed people that, we're all there in it together to support each other. And it showed humanity, real dignity and humanity within Peterborough. So, as Paul always says, I want to steal his words here, but he always says it does make us proud of Peterborough and proud to be a part of, this great city. And Zillur Hussain and his work and Paul's work went a long way in building bridges between communities who generally, probably feel disenfranchised or disassociated from each other. So it was very important.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain, thank you for joining us, and we are nearly reached to the end of this segment, so we will be saying goodbye to Mr. Bristow. So I understand that you have also you have fasted this year.
Yes, because Peterborough is home to an estimated 20,000 Muslims, and so many of my constituents undertake this fast every year. Ramadan is always a very special time in Peterborough, and I felt I wanted to understand and appreciate what so many of my constituents undertake, and I learned a lot about Islam, I learned a lot about Ramadan, and I learned a lot about myself as well. So it was a really important thing for me to do. And just can I just say just a couple of things towards the end, a few questions. One of your callers asked, how do we kind of keep this going? And she's absolutely right, because I think what the COVID pandemic has done has shown where we need to focus moving forward, and that's addressing some of those deep-rooted problems such as unemployment and homelessness, and I think she's absolutely right. And the other point I would just say, Councillor Ishfaq Hussain was also a fantastic, COVID hero, along with Zilla, and I think what has been achieved in Peterborough is something that can be replicated, I think, across the country, as long as we can keep it going. And with good people like Zilla and Ishfaq, I know we can do that.
So Peterborough do have a good team of young men who could be seen as kind of the heroes who would be able to help us out to come out of this pandemic in a way that brings along people, people who are more vulnerable and people who are in need of the help of community as a whole.
And women as well. But what I think Peterborough has done is just shown that once we face a challenge, if we work together from different communities, and we don't, as Zilla was saying, just look into ourselves and look into our own communities, if we look to the wider community, work with the council, work with your local MP and other people, we can make a real difference.
Peterborough is a very solution-focused city.
Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's my city.
Absolutely. দর্শক আমাদের সঙ্গে বোধহয় একজন কলার রয়েছেন, আমি দেখে নিচ্ছি কলার কি বলতে চান এবং তারপরে আমরা ছোট্ট বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতিতে যাব। কলার কে রয়েছেন আমাদের সঙ্গে? আমরা বোধহয় কলারকে হারিয়ে ফেলেছি। ফিরে আসুন আমাদের সঙ্গে, ছোট্ট বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আমরা ফিরে আসছি কোভিড হিরো আমাদের জিল্লুর হোসেনকে নিয়ে। এবং থ্যাংক ইউ মিস্টার ব্রিস্টো, এমপি ফর Peterborough. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর সবাইকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি আজকের আলাপচারিতার শেষ অংশে। আমরা কথা বলছি আমাদের বাঙালি কমিউনিটির অবশ্যই জন্য একজন গর্ব কোভিড হিরো জিল্লুর হোসেনকে নিয়ে। পিটারপাড়া থেকে তিনি এমবি অর্জন করেছেন এবং নিশ্চয়ই তার এই অর্জন শুধুমাত্র জিল্লুর হোসেন, পিটারপাড়া কিংবা তার পরিবারের নয়, এই অর্জন আমাদের পুরো বাঙালি কমিউনিটির। এবং বিশেষ করে এই মহামারী বা এই করোনা প্যান্ডেমিকের সময় আমাদের এই সমস্ত তরুণরা যারা এই ধরনের খেতাব অর্জন করেছেন চ্যারিটি কাজের জন্য বা দাতব্য কাজের জন্য, তারা আবারও প্রমাণ করেছেন যে এই কঠিন সময়ে মানুষের মনুষ্যত্ব যখন তাদের পাশে এসে দাঁড়ায়, কিংবা সেই গুণটি আবারও আমাদের মনে করিয়ে দেয় যে মানুষ হিসেবে বেঁচে থাকার আমাদের অর্থ কী। এবং আমরা যখন তাদের মতন হিরোদেরকে, তাদের মতন তরুণদেরকে আমাদের এই দুঃসময় পাশে দেখি, আমরা আবারও গর্বিত হই। আমরা আবারও আমাদের সেই অবস্থানকে, বিশেষ করে বিলেতে বাঙালি কমিউনিটির অবস্থানকে তারা সম্মানিত করে, তারা আরো দৃঢ় করে। এজন্য তাদের কাছে আমরা আন্তরিকভাবে কৃতজ্ঞ। এই সুযোগে আমি বাঙালি কমিউনিটির সমস্ত যারা এমবি অর্জন করেছেন, বিশেষ করে এই প্যান্ডেমিকের সময়, তাদের প্রতি আমাদের আন্তরিক কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাতে চাই। এবং অবশ্যই সেই সুযোগে আবারও আরেকবার বলতে চাই কতটা আমরা কৃতজ্ঞ, কতটা আমাদের ভালোবাসা জিল্লুর হোসেনের জন্য। জিল্লুর ভাই, আবারও ওয়েলকাম টু দ্য লাস্ট সেগমেন্ট অফ আলাপচারিতা, and we are really actually proud and pleased to have another good friend of Zillur Hussain, who is the leader of the council, Wayne Fitzgerald. Thank you, and good evening, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I understood every word, and thank you for those kind comments.
Good.
I'm sure they were all about me.
Absolutely, that was all about Peterborough and people of Peterborough. Indeed. So I'm sure that includes you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so we will start with you, Mr. Fitzgerald, in terms of what has been your reaction when you heard that Zillur got MB.
Well, I think I did a news piece for this very channel. I was thrilled because I've known Zilla for many, many years when he was in short trousers. So that's how long I've literally known him. Long, long time. So he's been a good friend of mine, a good friend to the city, and I was really thrilled for him and his family, because I know they'll be extremely pleased that he got this award. But isn't it great that you can get that kind of recognition here in this country? And we do recognise hard work and people that do things for the community. And it was a genuine, well, I was not surprised or shocked, but I was thinking, what a really good thing. It did take me by surprise, but he totally deserves it.
Absolutely. So, Zillur Bhai, coming from Mr. Fitzgerald, that you totally deserve it. So tell us a little bit about, I know that you've got lots of projects, you've got a vision, you've got a dream. So tell us a little bit about your dreams, because you indicated you're going to have a hospital in Dirai. So you're not only a hero for people of Peterborough, you're also a hero for your hometown, Dirai. So share a little bit about your vision, your dream about what you have been planning to do.
When I was living in the villages, right, I seen a lot of peoples in the villages, they have to go to the city. And many times, right, when our women get pregnant, right, they couldn't go to the city for normal checkup, for normal middle class people. So I think we need some sort of hospital in the locally to do the normal first step, second step checkups, right? If in difficulties, they can go to the city, send them to the city. So this is one of my vision, right, to do the x-rays, a lot of small things I can do in locally. And if something like a bigger, then they can treat it in the city. So I already got the land, and this is one, since I kids, so I have a vision to build our biggest hospitals in our area.
Because your uncle was saying that you helped people during the CEDAW. So it's, since 1995 you have been doing all this. I mean,
I remember the 1995 when these CEDAWs happened, right? I call a charity nights. And, people are generous. People just, especially our community, we always want to give something. Sometimes we don't got the opportunity how we can give it to the people. And I think in this COVID, I personally experienced in Peterborough, friend like Paul and Wines, everybody, they came with me. And I got the opportunity to go to the house read, right, and newspapers, and everybody support me to find these people to where they need helps. And they make life easier for us to go. And I see that our communities always want to do something, and they are doing every single cities, every single towns. Our community do a great job helping a big time when everybody needs help in our community.
So, Zilur Bhai, what will be your vision? How do you and where do you want to see Peterborough and the community in Peterborough? Because obviously, Mr. Bristow had said his vision, one city, one community. How do you see yourself and your Zai foundation? How do you see them to go along with that vision?
I mean, just at the moment, right, Peterborough, we've got lots of nice mosques in Peterborough. There's 3 big mosques in Peterborough. There's a big Muslim community in Peterborough. But especially our Bengali communities, we doesn't have any education center which our children can learn Bengalis way, the Bengali language and stuff like that. So I was on the way, I was talking to Wayne and Paul, how can we do some schools for our children who can go Saturday, couple of hours and learn the Bengali. So this is one of the things we are working on it. Peterborough's small community Bengalis, but we get together now. We're trying to build a mosque now. And even last week, we done a small get-together. Within an hour, we raised about £100,000 for the mosque.
Oh, brilliant.
So this is our things, right? Our community. We always want to do something. We just need opportunity to do something.
How do you, obviously, Zilur Bhai was saying that Peterborough has been quite unique in terms of supporting its residents through this pandemic. And he was talking about this charity called Lighthouse. So how have you been actually supporting the community or the residents of Peterborough during this difficult time?
The City Council, which I now lead, a fairly recent appointment for me. I was deputy for quite a long time. But we've had a great deal of community work going on, particularly the stuff we talked about with Zilla tonight. But the council have had a community hub, one of the first in the country, that brought together all the support agencies into one central source so that people needing help could get it from a one-stop shop. That hub still exists today and is doing great work because we're not through this pandemic. COVID-19 is with us. The Lighthouse project you mentioned is just one of the great many charities helping homeless and rough sleepers into safe accommodation. And you will recall, of course, the government made it mandatory on councils that they housed every single rough sleeper that got them off the street, got them safe, got them the help they needed, and that support has been there and remains there to this day. So I'm really proud what the government did, and Paul as RMP for Peterborough, taking care of people when it mattered. And that work is continuing today through the City Council. But let me tell you, there's thousands of people working all over the city, all over the county of Cambridgeshire, where Peterborough is based, to deliver vital services to those most in need, the vulnerable, the elderly. People suffer from loneliness. You know, it doesn't matter what community you're in, loneliness can be a big thing to many. So, you know, one of the things I would urge people to do, with whatever community, but particularly in the Bengali community, check on your neighbour. See how they're doing. Make sure they're not lonely, because that has been a real problem in COVID-19 because of the isolation, and we must be careful because it affects mental health and people's well-being. But we must emerge into a brighter future, which is why it's important, by the way, to get vaccinated, because that is the way out of this pandemic.
We have a caller on the line. Dorshok ke royechen amader songe.
Hello.
Hello, caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, may I have your question or comments, please?
Okay, no question, but I'm live as na.
Jia.
I'm just congratulations I'm Jilur Hussain Sahab re. I'm just congratulations জানাই আমরা জিল্লুর হোসেন সাহেব তাই দিরাই বাড়ি আমার বাড়িও দিরাই।
ওকে।
তো আমরা আসলে দিরাইয়ের মানুষ কিছু গর্বিত প্রাউড ফিল করলাম জিল্লুর বাড়ি নিয়া জিল্লুর ভাই যে এমবিএ কিতাব পাইছেন বুঝছেন? জি আমরা দেখো জিলুর ভাই সো ইয়াং আর এমবিএ কিতাব পাইছেন আর একজন আমরা দিরাই আপনার সবে চিনেন দবির চাচা দবির চাচা 101 বছরেও তাই রেকর্ড করছেন আমরা জিলুর ভাইও রেকর্ড করছেন বুঝছেন আর আমরা মাঝে আমরা শাহ আব্দুল করিম অত অল্প শিক্ষিত এরপরও তাইনের গান সারা ওয়ার্ল্ড জুড়ে লোকত আছে।
জি ধন্যবাদ এবং I'm sure জিলুর ভাই has got the message that দিরাইয়ের লোকজন আপনারা proud about জিলুর ভাই's success, and as I was saying before, he's not only a COVID hero for Peterborough, he is a COVID hero for Bangladeshi community as a whole. So Jilur bhai, coming back to you in terms of what would be your future plan through Zai Foundation and yourself in terms of how do you want to see yourself? Because obviously, as Mr. Fitzgerald was saying, that the challenges are actually in front of us. We haven't overcome the challenges that COVID is going to bring to us, we will be facing now that we are coming out of lockdown. There will be unemployment, there will be lots of mental health issues, there will be so much challenges ahead of us. And I think it's very, very important that we come along as a community and face this kind of challenges. So what would be your plan? I
mean, recently Zai Foundation already talking to the few good accountants, like their big firms and a few lawyers. So they're coming to every Saturday. I think they're going to coming for 3-4 hours, and every Wednesday. So people who are getting difficulties like mental health, there's other lot of family problems. So they'll get the free advice, and Zai Foundation will be supporting these lawyers and the accountants and everything. So this is one of the things Zai Foundation already looking at. We are talking to this Citizen Advice Bureau, so they can send people who need a legal advice. Because I think that's going to be help people for mental issues, and people can't do the forms, financial issues and everything. So that our accountants are going to be help them to do this. So this is one of the Zai Foundation project at the moment. Especially in Bangladesh, we already got a few schools. I've been, my friends calling me, there's some remote villages, there's no school there. So we want to build a few more schools on there.
So are you planning to do these projects on your own, or you're again bringing the community of Peterborough along?
Zai Foundation, it's a family-run charity. We doesn't take any funding from any other people's. It's supported by my families, my sisters and brothers, and all the project we done ourselves. And I'm sure the councillors and our local MPs there, they will help us to do something else at the bigger scale. So there's some project, I'm already working on it, so I'll pass it to them very soon. And I'm sure both of them there to helping me with this, my new dreams, my projects.
So, leader of the council, next question to you would be, how do you envisage to work with Zai Foundation as well as COVID heroes like Zillur to bring or make the dream come true, that is one city, one community of Peterborough?
Let me tell you one thing about Zilla, which is rather annoying. He's very persuasive. That's the thing. It's very difficult
I'm sure that's the secret of his success.
It's very difficult to say no when he asks you to do something. It's like he asked me to come here tonight. He told me we were going to a restaurant. Otherwise, I may not have got in the car for 2 hours, but it's a pleasure to see you and come here and talk about
a pleasure to have you on the show.
Zilla and indeed our great city of Peterborough. So we are all working together as a team. We are a multicultural, vibrant city. We welcome everybody. We're quite unique in the UK. We don't have the troubles, as they're called or perceived, those divisions, they're not evident in Peterborough. We basically all get on because we work as one community. I know Paul was talking very much about that, and he believes in what I believe in. So we are driving things forward. And with people like Zilla, as I say, he puts a persuasive argument. We can see the benefits in how the outcomes in communities are improved for people from every single community. You know, we've got many Eastern European people living in our city where their language their first language is not English. Paul mentioned our Pakistani community, very long roots now within the city, small Bengali community, but let me tell you, if there's any more people want to move to Peterborough, Bengali or otherwise, we welcome them. That's why we are one of the fastest growing cities in the UK. And we all work together for a better outcome, for a better way of life, healthier life as well. Everybody wants a healthier life. And that's where Peterborough is going. I'm driving that growth forward in the city, but with it, it's got to have heart, passion and compassion. And people like Zilla deliver that.
Thank you. So Zillur Bhai, we are coming to the end of the show. What would be your message to our viewers today, especially young generation British Bangladeshis who are watching today's show thinking, okay, I'm rich, I have money, but I haven't actually done anything for my community or for the community as a whole. What would be the message to those people especially, or people who have got the potential but possibly haven't managed to get to that point? What would be your message to those
I mean, messages is
Yes.
very, very simple. When the pandemics and stuff like that happen, right, we need to just go out. Look, as I said, Wayne said, knock the neighbors. So we can start from our neighbor, and then we see, a lot of people will come, they need help, and we'll find our own way. And our Bengali new generations, right, they're already doing a lot of things.
You started before pandemic.
Yeah.
You worked through the pandemic, and I'm sure your work will continue after pandemic. And,
but I learned a lot from the pandemics because I see the difficulties of the peoples.
Yeah.
And as I said, every city, there's a great leaders, there is a great people already working. And I mean, we can go to them and ask them, can you give us a platform? We need a platform. And as a pandemic is giving me the platform. And I think that's the honor I got it, a recognition I got it today because of things. One of these reasons is a pandemic.
So if I ask you, Jilur Bhai, just say in 3 words, your strengths. How do you see your strengths? What do you see as your strengths? I'm sure Mr. Fitzgerald has said that you are being very persuasive, so, and you believe in yourself, that Paul has said. So what else do you want to say about yourself?
A simple word is my family. Okay. So my family is my biggest strength, right? And this is, it keeps me going.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have the support of the family,
yeah.
You believe in yourself, you are very persuasive, and obviously you are a very, very kind person, and you want to bring your community along with you. And I'm sure, as the MP was saying, that seeing you, how you have come forward has actually inspired lots of other communities, lots of other community people to become heroes as well.
It is very important, as I say, we got this Paul, I always call the young, passionate MP, the council leaders. We need people like them as well. Every city they want to do something, and they're going out on the street. They give us opportunity to work with them.
Absolutely.
So I think this is the...
This is the way forward, absolutely. Oshonkho dhonnobad Jilur bhai apnake ebong best of luck and very best wishes, and really, we are really proud and grateful for your achievement. Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald, for coming on.
Council leader, by the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you both, and obviously thank you to MP Paul Bristow for joining us. দর্শক আমরা বিদায় নিচ্ছি আজকের মতো, এবং অনেক অনেক শুভকামনা থাকলো, ভালোবাসা থাকলো, শ্রদ্ধা থাকলো। জিল্লুর হুসেইন MBE নামটি শুনতেই আমাদের অবশ্যই আমরা গর্বিত হই, এবং আজকে যারা অনুষ্ঠান দেখলেন তাদের জন্য অবশ্যই জিল্লুর ভাই যেটা বলেছেন যে বিলিভ ইন ইয়োরসেলফ, হ্যাভিং এ সাপোর্টিভ ফ্যামিলি, এবং যেটা তিনি বিশ্বাস করেন সেটার দিকে তিনি ধাবিত হন। এই গুণগুলো অবশ্যই থাকতে হবে, এবং আবারও শুভকামনা থাকলো জিল্লুর হুসেইন MBEর জন্য, কোভিড হিরো। ধন্যবাদ।